Hey everybody, it's Wendy. Welcome. I'm so excited you're here with me today. We are going to be making a card using the Gather Together stamp set, and this part of the video is sped up to 4 times its normal speed. The reason being, this is kind of the boring part, but I wanted to show it to you so you knew how to do it. So basically I'm using versamark ink and watercolor paper. And then in between inking, I am heat setting each leaf. So I'm just kind of moving everything around and getting it stamped. And the reason I'm using a Stamparatus tool is because in case when I stamp that Versamark doesn't go down well, then I want to be able to restamp in the same area. So I'm just stamping, covering with white embossing powder, and heat setting. And I'm doing that every single time. And you might notice that this watercolor paper is larger than like a card front. I purposely did that because I'm going to be cutting it down later. So I wanted to kind of create this beautiful background and then be able to trim it down and have really nice edges where some of the leaves kind of fell off the edge and stuff like that. So I'm just continuing this process and stamping and then adding my white embossing powder and then heat setting and doing it again. And then once I have finished that and I've gotten all the leaves done, I will begin my watercolor process. Now, I picked out colors that I felt would go really well together and that will also represent fall. So I chose Blackberry Bliss, Cajun Craze, Pumpkin Pie, and Calypso Coral, and Mint Macaron, and I showed you Shaded Spruce, but I actually ended up not using Shaded Spruce. I ended up using Mossy Meadow. Shaded Spruce was too green. It looked too springy for me. So I wanted something that was a little more fall-like. So all I've done here is I'm squeezing the ink pads in the center so that I can get some ink pulled up on the palette of the ink pad. I'm using an aqua painter, which you can get from Stampin' Up. All these supplies are from Stampin' Up except for my watercolor paper. I use Arches cold press and hot press watercolor paper because I find it to really hold up well with a lot of water. It's a more high quality watercolor paper. If you're a beginner, I would recommend just going with Stampin' Up's watercolor paper so you're not investing a bunch of money right up front. But if you want a little bit higher quality watercolor paper that will hold lots of water well, then this definitely is a great choice. I rarely use products that aren't Stampin' Up only because honestly, I'm lazy. It's part of the reason that I do what I do is because I find it very overwhelming with all the things that are on the market. And here I'm using Cajun Craze now. And I'm just getting my brush wet, focusing the pigment at the base of the leaf, and then letting it flow out from there. When you do watercolor, you don't want to be overly precise. It's okay to let things look a little bit different in different areas, and it's totally fine. That is what watercolor is, and so you should feel free to do that. Now I'm using Calypso Coral and creating it. Interesting that the Cajun Craze and Calypso Coral look really similar. So I thought that was interesting. But I'm going to be doing more and more stuff to these leaves. So you just keep watching and hanging with me here. Okay, so back to Stampin' Up stuff. So the reason I've been asked, like, you seem like you really enjoy creating and doing stuff. Why don't you use other products? Well, there's 2 reasons. The reasons are, one is that I'm lazy and that figuring out what products coordinate well together is difficult for me. It would probably be easier for me now than when I first started. When I first started, it was really overwhelming to me. So I try to just stick with what I know, and I know what coordinates and stuff like that. It keeps it much more simple. I have a limited amount of space in my craft room, so I am never going to be one of those people that just has thousands of stamp sets hoarded up in my house. I can't. I physically don't have the space. We have a 1,200 square foot house. I have a like 250 square foot stamp room, so it's basically an oversized closet, and that's never going to happen. I'm never going to be the person that has boxes and boxes of stuff. First of all, I'm a neatnik. I like things in a specific way, and to have a whole bunch of boxes of stuff laying around would really stress me out. So I know a lot of people are not like that, and you are totally fine with having lots and lots of goodies, and I think that that's wonderful because it takes all kinds to make the world go round. I am just not that person. So Stampin' Up! Just keeps it simple for me. The other reason is, obviously, I sell it. I make money doing this. It's my livelihood. So if I show you a bunch of products that you can't purchase from me, then that's kind of stupid, right? I mean, it just is. Like, if I show something and you can't buy it from me, then I'm kind of kicking my own self in the hind end, right? Okay, here is where I get creative, and this is where I feel like people have really put Stampin' Up! In this hole of you can't be fancy and creative if you do stuff with Stampin' Up! Like, it's just this very basic, boring thing. And no, that's not true. So I'm using Calypso Coral to go into the Blackberry Bliss leaves to add some dimension and different color. I used some Cajun Craze in the pumpkin pie leaves. And then I used some pumpkin pie in the Calypso Corals. So all of these worked really well together. Okay, what you see me doing now is picking up clean, clear water, putting it onto the paper, and then adding pigment to the paper and allowing the water to kind of move that pigment around. So this is a very uncontrolled process, meaning you just kind of dab the ink and let it go where it wants to. The wonderful thing about the white heat embossing is it prevents the green from going into the leaves. Okay, you're going to sit and watch me do this with Mossy Meadow and Mint Macaron, and we're going to have a little story time. First of all, you may have noticed I sound a little stuffy. It's because I got a cold. I went to Atlanta over the weekend, last weekend, and I probably picked it up on the airplane because airplanes are disgusting hordes of germs, and I hate them. But, you know, I do it because I do enjoy traveling. I do enjoy going and doing different things, so I force myself to go on airplanes. If I was independently wealthy, I would have my own airplane where nobody could breathe on me, and I would be very happy, but I am not. So I went there to hang out with my team members, Sandra and her team, and they had an event called Stamp Timber. She put on an event called Stamp Timber, and it was really amazing. Like, so much fun. Brian King came and spoke. I spoke. And we stamped, and we visited, and we had a blast. And then on Sunday, I think I actually told you guys this in the previous video. Maybe not. On Sunday, I went to church with them, and then we went to the Whistle Stop Cafe to see where the movie Fried Green Tomatoes was filmed, which was amazing. Highlight of my weekend, for reals. Besides spending time with all those fabulous people. Okay, so then, the other thing, I have, next week, I'm going to have some videos and blog posts with pictures from Macy's Harry Potter party, so keep an eye out for that, because I'll fill you in on all of that. I taught my very first Sunday school lesson, and it went well. I was amazed, because honestly, like, I did not think it was going to go well. I was really scared and nervous, and thought that the kids would hate me because I'm not a kid person. We've been over this. And so I was like, you know, they're probably really not going to enjoy this. They're not going to like me. And, I mean, I know all these children. Okay, so that's the other thing. I do know them all. Okay, real quick, back to the card. I am using some shimmer paint from Stampin' Up. This is the Frosted White. It's pearlized, and I'm putting it on before this dries, okay? I don't want the watercolor to dry because I actually want this Frosted White pearl stuff to soak in and kind of blotch out. So if it was dry, it wouldn't move around and soak into the paper. So I had to obviously wait for it to dry so that I could do this part, which is trimming down everything, which gave me a little bit of angst. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh, I worked so hard on this and I'm trimming it down, and what if it looks bad? But it didn't. It ended up looking beautiful. So anyway, back to Sunday school. So my lesson was in joy, which is perfect for me because I totally am a lover of joy. So these are my little leftover pieces. And I believe that for the most part, if we focus on joy and happiness, that our life will be a lot happier. 90% of of who we are as people and how we perceive things and our happiness and lack thereof is based on our own mental attitude. So if you find a way, even in the worst circumstance, to focus on joy and focus on blessings, that circumstance will be easier. Okay, I got this at like the dollar store, I think. It's foam, and I've always wanted to use this. And so I'm putting this watercolor piece on a piece of foam because it's got one side that's adhesive, the other side is not. But whenever you do a watercolor piece, they tend to curl a little bit and buckle, the paper does. So I thought this would be a fun way to keep it all nice and flat, and it worked brilliantly. It really pulled everything out and made it nice and flat, which was perfect. And then all I have to do is add it to a card base with some Tombow glue, which FYI, Stampin' Up! Does not sell the foam adhesive, but it does sell the Tombow glue. So, by the way, all the items I'm using, the links are in the description below the video. I always forget to say that. Okay, so yeah, Sunday school. So it went good. I taught on joy. We made joy jars. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I post stories there. And so if you ever want to see what I'm doing, you can follow me in one of those two places. I also have giveaways to announce for people who have commented on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to do that at the end of the video. So stay tuned until then. So I just put glue down, and then I'm setting this here to let it adhere and set up while I do the sentiment. Okay, so we made joy jars, and in each jar there were scriptures that were focused on joy and that Jesus is always with you and you can be happy and blah, blah, blah. And so we cut up all those scriptures. We put them in the jars. I brought my Big Shot with me to Sunday school, and I brought the old large letter framelits that we have. They were retired from Stampin' Up!, but I kept them because they're so useful. So I kept those, and they cut out the word joy in different colors. I brought scraps from my bin, and they decorated their jar with the word joy, and then they put the scriptures inside the jar so they could take it home, and anytime they were feeling angry or frustrated or sad or scared or nervous, they could pull a scripture out of that jar. Okay, so I thought this was fantastic, so I made myself a joy jar. And I love it. It's sitting in my craft room, actually. And so, yeah, that was really fun. And we played games, and we told a story about joy and having joy. And it was actually the story about, it was kind of like a Passover story where they go to the tomb and they find it empty. And they're so excited because that means Jesus is still alive. So that was fun. And yeah, it went well. And then we had a snack. It was good. It was really good. And I have to tell you, for somebody who isn't is not a kid person. I am self-proclaimed not a kid person. I think I did fantastic. I'm just going to tell you, you never know what Jesus is going to do to you, because I thought I did a really good job, and the kids seemed to have a lot of fun. My daughter told me over and over what a good job I did. And so I was like, man, maybe I can do this. So long story short, I'm teaching again this Sunday. This is how you get roped into these things. You just, you never know what, is going to be next on your list of things to be doing, because if you just keep yourself open and have an open heart and open mind, you just never know. So you saw that I stamped this twice. The first time I embossed it in gold embossing powder, which I thought would look really nice. I decided it did not. Sorry to have to sniffle on you, but I can't breathe. And so then I couldn't decide if I wanted to leave this as a strip going all the way across, if I wanted to make another leaf and watercolor and put it on top of there, if I wanted to cut it. I was just having the hardest time deciding. So finally I just said, you know what, I'm just cutting it. Done. Letting the background be the focal. And so this just says Season of Thanks, and it's the sentiment out of that stamp set. And I'm popping it up using Stampin' Dimensionals. And I love to use the edges of my Stampin' Dimensionals, FYI. If that's not something that you do, make sure that you use the edges, because they will work. So I've got my little Season of Thanks there. And then I had to add my little droplets. These are from Stampin' Up. I honestly do not remember what they're called right off the top of my head while I'm voiceovering this video. But they're adorable. I love them. And I just got them. They've been in the catalog, but somehow I missed them. I don't know. Anyway, I love them, and I now probably will use them on a bazillion things because I'm kind of obsessed with them. And so I just scattered a few of these around and thought it would be fun to have them on this card also. And they tie in really nicely with all the shimmer that I added with the shimmer paint, which I'm going to show you at the end of this video. So you're going to want to hang tight for that. And of course the giveaway announcement, because I have like 3 giveaways I have for you guys. And I couldn't decide if I needed one more, but I ended up saying no. Nope, did not need it. Always good to go with odd numbers, FYI. When you're doing something like this, odd numbers are a good thing. So there's 5 on there, so that was perfect. So you can kind of see the shimmer when I turn this correctly into the light. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now we're going to announce the winners. Winners are Vicky, Mary Kay, and Crystal Muirhead. I'm going to comment and let you know that you won, so don't stress about figuring out if that's you. You will know because I will send you a message. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Click on either one of the images to watch those videos. Shop with me at shoploveandstampin.com. Click on the circle with my face in it to subscribe. I'll talk to you soon.